counterpoint is a comedian to a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a billionaire Nepo baby whose dad owned diamond emerald mines. Because one, the billionaire, the Nepo baby, has spent their entire life and growing up having people tell them yes. And the thing about a comedian from the jump, everybody is telling you no. And the only way you get them to tell you yes is if you figure out something essential about the human experience. And then you start chipping away at it. And that is it. You were born in the dark. And literally, because you're in you're in a comedy club on an open mic and nobody knows who the fuck you are. It's amazing and it's my favorite. And it's very the fact isn't it's censorship versus non-censorship. That's just a narrative that the right is using right now. It is rich assholes are not the solution to anything.
Yeah.
Right? Their solution is Elon Musk. No, that's a rich a-hole who is just a different rich a-hole who owns a very powerful distribution mechanism of propaganda, rhetoric, political speech, whatever. But when we know for a fact, by virtue of what they say and how there's a disparity between that and the effect of getting Elon Musk in your feed, even though you don't even interact with it, they're telling us not a total lie. And we know it's a lie. And people like Jon Stewart were born in the darkness and have found a way to communicate more effectively than Elon Musk. And that's why he's so scared not to be surrounded by a bunch of yes sayers and go into what a hostile environment like the Daily Show live audience, which going into a hostile environment is what you do as a comedian.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the exact opposite of anything Elon Musk wants a part of.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with that said, that is unfortunately all the time that we have for the show. We are going to be doing members content. We're going to be talking about a joke that Donald Trump told the Prime Minister of Japan. We have our resident expert on Japan, Brett Ehrlich, will be commenting on that. If you want to become a member, you can get access to all of that content. And I'll also be leading the first hour of the Young Turks later on, so definitely join us for that. For now, though, Brett, thank you for being here. For all of you out there, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Reecie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, my contributor, none other than the incomparable Reecie Colbert. Always fascinating to have her brilliance on the program. Top story of the day. Do you remember when Indisputable exclusively covered, we were the first national media outlet to cover a pastor being arrested for watering flowers in Alabama. We then interviewed that pastor on the program. If you recall, the argument was, well, he didn't identify himself, but he was on private property, but he did identify himself as, well, he's a pastor, he's a neighbor, he's watering flowers. Now there's an update. Alabama Supreme Court has ruled against their own statutory law to say that police officers now have a right to mandate identification while you are in your yard or the yard of your neighbor. Here it is.
Howdy.
Hey man, how's it going?
Pretty good. What you doing here, man?
Water flower.
Are they saying that, is that your vehicle?
Nah,
It's not?
it's the neighbor's vehicle.
The neighbors?
314, I'll be on 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
You live here?
I don't live here.
Okay. They saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be
Who's
here.
saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
Watering their flowers.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and
I
all?
don't know, man. I'm not gonna give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong. They did
Well, you look, listen, I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
Dog, listen,
There's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater. Don't come here with that. Okay.
Look, man, don't do this to me. There's a suspicious person in the yard, and if you're not one to identify yourself,
I don't have to identify myself. I listen to them.
10-4. We got one that's not listening to it. Look, man, let me see your phone. Let me see your phone, dude. Just calm down, okay?
No.
Stop.
A couple of dynamics here I need to highlight for the record. Number one, Pastor Jennings did identify himself. Number two, he did identify his address by pointing directly to his home. Number three, his wife did come out later and present another form of identification that was disregarded by the cops. In addition to that, when they called this in, they said, and I quote, "We got one who's not listening to us." You see, that is not a statutory violation whatsoever.
So when he came up, you'll notice at the first part of the video, he didn't get agitated until I refused to give my ID. So, and then if you'll notice at the last part of the video, he was agitated because I didn't give my ID. Even after I was ID, he was still agitated because they want to get you in the system. They want to see, you never realize you done messed up. So let me see if I can find something. So that's what I think it was alluding to. But it was shameful and it was surreal. I couldn't believe that was happening. I watch your show all the time. I'm a fan and I didn't think I would end up on it.
Pastor Jennings, remarkable human being. Former police officer, well versed on Alabama law. He knows nobody could come up to you in a private yard or residence and say, "Give me your identification." This is not about providing your name. This is about providing legal ID, which no one should be forced to provide identification in a private residence, period. This violates domicile rules and constitutional rules throughout the country. If this stands as precedent, let's put it up for a mass. In the extremely limited wisdom of the Alabama Supreme Court, they have ruled that Pastor Jennings, who was arrested while watering flowers, the flowers of his neighbor by request, this Supreme Court in Alabama said police can now demand to see identification during a stop if they are dissatisfied with a person's verbal answers. Justices issued a 6-3 decision last week. Now, this allows the process to be extremely subjective to the interpretation of the cop, which is why they ruled this way. The statute is clear. The statute is clear in Alabama. What they have done, they have created de facto case law by saying police officers can violate the statutory code if they are dissatisfied with the initial answer. Why does it require the initial answer first? Because that's the law. The law is you do have to say who you are. So they have to pass that statutory requirement. But if the cops, well, let's say they believe you're lying. Oh, let me see your ID to confirm. There's more. Jennings sued the city. We talked to Harry Daniels, attorney at law, good friend of mine, who is one of the co-counsel. Jennings sued the city, sued the officers for false arrest. A federal judge decided to dismiss the lawsuit. Then they had to go back to court. The 11th Circuit Court, U.S. Court of Appeals, reversed the decision of the first court. U.S. District Judge R. David Proctor then asked the state Supreme Court to determine whether the state law prohibits an officer from demanding identification if the person gives an incomplete or unsatisfactory response to questions. Now, I want you to follow the legal philosophy of the judge. The judge is asking Alabama, if a person gives an answer that the cop doesn't like, is the cop then allowed to require identification? Not about requesting. You can request ID if you choose to. We're talking about a requirement now, okay? The reason why you should know that this is not a law is because a judge would not have to ask the Supreme Court to provide clarity if it's already statutorily mandated. There's more. The lower court then asked the Alabama Supreme Court to weigh in on if law enforcement can require physical identification when someone, quote, gives an incomplete or unsatisfactory oral response. That's according to a previous AL.com article, okay? So they're setting this up in order to eliminate your rights once again. This is not about Pastor Jennings only. This is about every person in Alabama and by proxy, everybody in the United States of America, because it sets precedent by case law. So the law says private property, you can request name, they provide name. The man told you his name is Pastor Jennings. He pointed to his address, identifiable. Wife came out later, provided an actual form of identification. He still goes to jail. There's more. So let's talk about the precedent. Justice Will Sellers wrote that state law, quote, does not exclude from its purview a request for physical identification when a suspect provides an incomplete or unsatisfactory response to an officer's demand to provide his or her name and address and an explanation of his or her action. If the information provided does not allow the officer to determine the person's identity, Sellers wrote, officers may request or demand physical identification. Now, there's an interesting nuance here, okay? And if you don't pay attention, it's subtle, you may miss it. The judge said, put it back up, Jordan. Justice Will Sellers said, it does not exclude from its purview a request for physical identification. Request for physical identification. Request is much different than a mandate. Once again, a request for physical identification. The cop never said, well, sir, Pastor Jennings is not a full name. Can you give me your full name, please? He never did that. He never said, if you don't give me your full name, I'm going to have to demand you produce identification. Not in the context of the interaction. There's more. Another quote, obtaining a person's identity is a crucial part of what's called a Terry stop, according to the justice. The opinion reads, referring to the U.S. Supreme Court's framework for brief investigative stops based on reasonable suspicion, Sellers wrote nothing in the state law's language or legislative history indicates the legislature intended to prohibit officers from requesting proof of identity when necessary to confirm the information a suspect provides. They're reaching into the intent of the legislator now. Okay? They're trying to read into the intent of the lawmaker. There's more. The court concluded that if a person fails to provide sufficient identifying information during a lawful stop, an officer may either arrest the person for interfering with a government function or seek additional identifying information, including physical identification. Now, this is the silliest damn case in order to create this precedent over, because the man is literally at home. He pointed to his address. His wife comes out with identification. Not only has he provided his name, if you believe that a black man watering flowers is reasonable suspicion, as the court has determined is required prior to the mandate, that means that any black man watering flowers has created a suspicious activity. And they can now have an interaction with law enforcement, be investigated. Ridiculous. There's more. Matthew Cavadon, director of the Cato Institute's Project on Criminal Justice, and said the decision is, quote, a significant expansion of government power over people. The significance now for Alabamians is if an officer is not satisfied with whatever answer you give, I sure hope you've got your driver's license or passport on you, end quote. And I've talked about this with Attorney Harry Daniels. The law, based on the interpretation of the ruling, would be so restrictive that if, let's say, a 15-year-old who doesn't have state ID, maybe they have a school ID. If this 15-year-old says his name is Ray Johnson, but his name is actually Lil Ray Johnson, then that suspicion can get him arrested for false identification based on the long form of the ruling. It creates issues that should not and do not actually exist. It criminalizes individuals for doing nothing malicious. All right, hell of a thing. It should be reversed in a higher court, and we hope that happens. Dear sister, thoughts here?
Well, this is what happens when people have a permission slip for racism against Black people, racial profiling, then that becomes a permission slip for everybody to be harassed by the police. I take issue with calling this man a suspect. What's suspicious, as you pointed out, Dr. Reecie, about watering flowers for your neighbor? That's number one. And then number two, look at how this whole just have ID is working with what we're seeing in terms of ICE. We are seeing US citizens who have produced identification or who are attempting to produce identification be hauled off to ICE facilities for hours, or in some cases dumped miles away, battered and bloodied, because the people who are, I won't say arresting because they don't have authority over legal US citizens, but the people who have kidnapped them refuse to look at their identification. And so this is a dangerous precedent, but I would bet money that the judiciary here is betting that cops will show deference to white people in these situations, and they will show and they will take maximum power when dealing with Black people. And so that's why they're not as concerned with setting this kind of really, really ridiculous precedent.
You are so correct, and you're so right to bring up ICE, because ICE basically utilizes the same strategy. Even if you do produce ID, they will say, well, we thought it was a fake ID.
Right.
Because if they believe that it's not real, they can proceed to arrest you and illegally detain you. Okay, we'll bring you updates as they come. Hell of a thing. Remember the Black candidate running for Senate in Illinois who ran on the F Trump bandwagon? Well, guess what? She won. Here it is.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
Trump. Vote Juliana.
They said it, not me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I'm proud to have lived my whole life on the south side of Chicago. I'm not scared of a wannabe dictator. I'm running for Senate to stand up to Donald Trump. I'll abolish ICE and hold Trump accountable for the crimes he's committed, just like they said.
Trump.
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 Vote Juliana.
That's why I approve this message.
She's the victor. Now, put up the picture for a mass. She's now the Democratic nominee. Now, dear sister, if you can launch an F. Schumer campaign, we got you. Juliana Stratton, the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate now in Illinois, who is poised to become only the 6th Black woman to serve in the Senate, says that if she is elected in November, you got to hear this, she will not support Chuck Schumer as the party's longtime leader. A new poll shows that Schumer's approval rating is at its lowest point since he has taken office. Just 27% of the respondents say the New York Democrat is doing an excellent or a good job, while 41% say he is doing a poor job. Schumer's approval rating is down 7 points from last year and is at the lowest it has ever been since Marist started tracking in 1999. That's the same year he entered the U.S. Senate. So during an interview with YouTuber, as reported by The Hill, Stratton said, quote, "I think right now what I'm hearing from voters all across the state is that they are fed up. They're fed up with what's happening in Washington." Stratton, a progressive Democrat who has been campaigning on abolishing ICE and Medicare for all, said state voters are tired of the status quo from elected leaders in the nation's capital. There's another quote, I'm going to get into it in just a moment, but is it not refreshing to finally have leadership that says what everyone feels? It's time out for all of these damn SAT words and measured responses. People who have heart, people who have a coherent heart. No vacillation. This is how I feel. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. And I'm going to say it. So she ran an F Trump campaign and won. Okay? And won. There's more. Quote, "I can say that they are telling me very clearly that they're looking for fighters and not folders. They want people who are going to stand up, fight for what's important," says Stratton, the current lieutenant governor of Illinois. "I see my role as a senator to be, of course, to pass common sense, good legislation to improve the lives of people I represent. There's also a real desire and certainly a role that I want to help take on to push our party to be more courageous because that's what people are looking for." And it's interesting. Yes, more courageous, but I would settle for less corrupt because if you just get some of the corporate dollars out of the spending cycle, you will self-correct much of the dysfunction that's happening. But since we're not getting the corporate dollars out of the election cycle, you have to depend on individuals who will say no to the corporate dollars. And many will say, oh, well, I'm from this area. I'm from here. I would never sell out my community. That's precisely why they will purchase you, because you seem to be the authentic figure. So here we are, authentic candidate, F. Trump, now saying basically F. Schumer. I said that she hasn't, but she's kind of saying, all right, put it up full mass. Meanwhile, the governor, OJB. So JB Pritzker has some damage control to do with some black lawmakers who say his decision to tilt the state's Senate Democratic primary in favor of his lieutenant governor could cost him support from black voters. That's according to a report from Politico. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus are still fuming from Tuesday's election results, in which Stratton beat out a Congressional Black Caucus member, U.S. Representative Robin Kelly. The Politico report notes that Governor Pritzker and Representative Kelly had a long-standing beef after the governor worked to remove her from the state Democratic Party. However, the two politicians reportedly moved on from the dispute. There's moving on and then there's moving on not all the way. So he did endorse the opponent, okay? His prerogative. And he doesn't have to take his cues from DC. There's more. So days before the primary race, this is called putting your hand on the scale. Days before the primary race, the Congressional Black Caucus chairwoman, Representative Yvette D. Clarke, shout outs to Representative Clarke, called out Governor Pritzker, who, not surprisingly, endorsed his number 2, Stratton. Right, not surprisingly. Pritzker donated $5 million to boost the Senate campaign. Clarke accused the governor of tipping the scales in Stratton's favor. That's exactly what he was doing. Booker spoke to more than a dozen CBC members who say their gripe with Pritzker and not who say their gripe is with Pritzker and not Stratton, who is likely to win her November general election and join their ranks on January 3rd, 2027. Okay. Why would a sitting governor take orders from any of you clowns? Why? Are you in charge of him? Maybe because the money that flows doesn't flow the same way with this candidate as it flows with your chosen candidate? You all are talking as if this man works for you. He took the scale. Yeah, he's a governor. He's a politician. They do that. It's called the aggregation of power, something that Democrats need to learn how to do and learn how to do it much better than they currently do. In a previous interview with Griot, Stratton said she was proud to have the governor's support and said despite being disappointed by the CBC's public pushback against that support, she looks forward to joining the caucus. Quote, I say that especially when I consider the work that Governor Pritzker and I have really done and have been intently focused on doing for these past 7 years to uplift families across our state, no matter what community they come from. Stratton told the Griot, we've raised the minimum wage, we passed common sense gun safety legislation, we protected reproductive freedom, we've created thousands of jobs, and we've done so much more. There you have it. All right, dear sister, how do you see this?
Well, I have great respect for the CBC, but I think they are delusional when it comes to this idea that J.B. Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, supporting his lieutenant governor is going to fare poorly with Black voters. He supported another Black woman. So what? Who cares? They're not gonna care. I personally don't care. And I think he did the right thing. At the end of the day, when J.B. Pritzker ran, he's a billionaire. He self-funded his campaigns. And so that left Lieutenant Governor Stratton without that network of donors that you typically get that a congressional person gets because they run every 2 years. And as soon as they get sworn in, they're already sending donation or contribution emails and text messages to everybody. And so I think he did her a solid, which was appropriate. She played her role as number 2, and this is the fruit that is that she gets to bear from that. And so I think that they want to be kingmakers in this situation, but they aren't. And ultimately, the voters decided. Yes, he helped, but I think that Stratton's record is helped much more, and she ran a really good campaign.
Yeah, she did. And once again, refreshing campaign as well. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. We got more on the other side, and it's beautiful stick and stay.
They failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad. Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
and fill-in host beats CNN and Headline News combined. At some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Jack took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to put makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. This I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw, all hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Okay, to our esteemed co-host and contributor today, a lot of opportunity to engage. Reecie, tell people how they can connect with you, follow your content, engage with you outside of Indisputable.
Yes, well, I'm Reecie Colbert on all socials and on YouTube. I have my own show on Sirius XM Urban View. It comes on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern live. I take calls. I love to be very interactive with my guests. My co-host is my girl. She's founder of the Reframe Brain podcast, the wellness community, Erica Savage. And it's like the cookout. We do a mix of politics and culture, and we bring some Black girl magic on a Saturday because, you know, I'm the only woman holding it down on Urban View on Saturday. So check me out there. And then I have my own card game which is called Am I Trippin'? It's like the Black Am I the A-hole? And it is so much fun. It's double-sided. This is the second edition that's out now. It has trivia on one side and it has everyday scenarios on the other side. Either way, it sparks conversation, lots of fun, thousands sold. So get that game, amitrippinggame.com.
Awesome. Such a talented, creative individual. Love your show. Ladies and gentlemen, just know there is cussing.
Yes.
Not cursing, cussing.
Cussing.
All right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, I got some comments for read as many as I can. Guam Capsized Dragon. Don't make me violate your rights. That's right. That's right. The cop was like, come on, man, don't make me do this. Come on, bro. So sad. Yeah. Dean Loaf Green, I think, 7399. Black while being a good neighbor.
Mm.
That's right. Yep. Who stole the U91101? I mean, that is a bright Supreme Court I see there. I mean, they really stretched their judicial doctrine to say, well, let's talk about the intent of the legislator. Why? Did you poll them? Did you ask them? Did you survey them? Oh, most of them aren't around anymore. So you couldn't do that when the original law was passed. All right. And yeah, that is so funny. Wisdom Reborn 68, Wisdom Reborn, come on. You know I love it. Wisdom Reborn says, Doc, I didn't hear a word you said. The fresh cut gold tie navy jacket had all my attention. I'm just saying happy Friday. I know, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, sister. I appreciate you. And big ups to Wisdom Reborn. She will come out to events that we do live and around this city. She'll pop up. Always good to see her. And we have Christine Lisa Brown. Reecie looks gorge, and I catch her on media all the time. Get it, girl, and a bunch of hearts. That's right.
Dr. Reecie, I
yes.
forgot to mention that I'm also on Clay Kane's show, on Sirius XM Urban View Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Roland on Thursdays as well. So check me out on all those.
Right. That's right.
Yes.
My brother Roland it's an interesting story that will come out next month.
Oh.
But people don't know Roland and I talk all the time. Just because we're not on each other's platform, some folk think there's an issue. Not at all. I've known Roland for years. And he was the first person to ever put me on television years ago on TV One. Remember that when he had the morning show?
Yep.
Yes. So that is my brother. All right. And that's right. So I think this is Professor Bite says, helping out his neighbor, definitely suspicious. Give me a break. That's right. One more. Yep, late bloomer _ mad grandma. Somebody please tell me that this can be appealed. It can be appealed. It should be appealed. But to appeal it takes money. And at this point, because it does impact everybody in Alabama, and by proxy, it creates case law throughout the United States, hopefully a group that's well-funded, well-versed, and has the time to do this will be ready to go because this can't stand. All right. A cop decides to brutalize a black man, and his punishment, desk duty. Here it is.
You're gonna go to jail for open container. Pour it out, or you're gonna go to jail for open container. Those are your options.
Here, you can pour it out.
Nope, pour it out.
No, you can pour it out.
All right. Brother, stop. Get on the ground.
What are you doing? Stop!
Hey, Street Central, give us the channel. Step back.
Stop!
Yo, put your hands behind your back. Hey, stop in, bro.
Stop!
What are y'all arrested? Put your hands behind your back.
Hey, y'all need to stop.
Put your hands behind your back, man. I'm gonna tase.
What did you tase me for?
Hey, step back. Put your hands behind your back.
He got it. Hey, chill out.
Get back.
Stop.
Get back.
Stop.
Give me a
Get
thumb.
back. That's my twin.
Hey,
Get back.
Get back.
Please stop. You got
all
me.
right, come on. Do your business. I'm complying. What are we doing? Put your hands behind your back.
I can, if you let me. If you let me, smart guy. Dumbass. Stupid ass. Oh, he's trying to be tough. He's trying to be tough. Weak ass guy. Yep. Almost took you out, didn't I? Almost took you out, didn't I?
I don't care.
Almost took you out, didn't I?
Yep.
Stop. Let go. He not over there fighting you. Stop. 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 That's my twin. Stop. I almost took you out, didn't I? Stop. Cut it the out. Stop. I almost took you out. Stop. You're weak. Stop. You're weak. You're weak. You're weak. You're weak. Why the is he hitting him? Why the is he hitting him? Chill up. Why is he hitting him? Let go of my hand. Let go of my hand. Stop. 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 He hit my brother. Stop. Stop right now. Why are you hitting him?
The good people of that community deserve so much better than that coward-ass cop. Put it up full mass. This cop gets out of his vehicle. He gives an ultimatum. Ultimatum is, pour it out or go to jail. Man says, here, you pour it out. Okay, I'll pour it out. He pours it out, throws the can on the ground, and proceeds to tackle the man after pouring out the drink, which, by the way, should have eliminated the offense based on the proclamation of the officer. Either pour it out or go to jail. Since it's poured out, why is he going to jail? And then he proceeds to brutalize the man because he doesn't like what the man is saying. You have freedom of speech in this nation. You have a right to be a jerk. You have a right to tell a cop how you feel. You have a right to talk ish. It is constitutionally protected, allegedly by the same officers that violated it. Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach police officer is now on desk duty, should not be employed, should be arrested, is on desk duty pending an internal investigation. Desk duty, not suspended? Hell, I would take suspended with pay over desk duty. Desk duty pending an internal investigation into the brutal arrest of a black man that was caught on camera. Cell phone video that went viral captured the takedown of a 27-year-old man, identified by police as David Anderson, who was forced to the ground by an officer and punched in the head multiple times. The arrest happened just after midnight on March 12th. Anderson was arrested and charged with an open container violation, even though he complied, according to an arrest report cited by WOFL. Put up the chief. That is Chief Jakari Young. Quote, after a review of the body camera footage, as well as the video currently being shared online, I acknowledge what many people have already said. The clip circulating online is concerning, end quote. Chief Young stated that the arresting officer, whose identity has not been released, so if you all know the identity, please send it to indisputable, has been assigned to an administrative role as the Office of Professional Standards investigates the obvious criminal action of the cop, okay? Quote, we expect our officers to handle every encounter with professionalism, patience, and sound judgment, Chief Young said. Quote, let me be clear, as chief, I will always support the men and women of the Daytona Beach Police Department when they act within the law and within our policies. At the same time, when an officer falls short of those standards, it will be addressed swiftly and appropriately. Please put the chief back up. Chief, your mama named you Jakari. I need you to act like. What this man did was criminal. It was against the law. And the reason why you're providing commentary to say, I won't stand with cops that don't follow the rules, is because you know he didn't. you know he did not follow the rules. It's amazing to me how all of a sudden individuals who are trained investigators have no idea how to investigate a crime if the person is wearing a blue suit. Trained investigator. Easy one. The man was handcuffed. The man was not posing a threat. If you want to give the cop the benefit of the doubt on the tackle, which I wouldn't, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt on anything else. And he lied on the official police report, violation of oath of office. Put up the mayor. Daytona Beach Mayor Derek Henry. The mayor also released a statement about the arrest. Quote, like many of you, I have seen the disturbing video of the incident with the Daytona Beach police, and I understand why it has caused deep concern, frustration, and anger in our community. What we see in the video is incongruent, with the standards that we expect from those sworn to protect and serve our community. The images in the video are troubling, and our community deserves clear answers about what occurred. You take the statement of the mayor, you file you a civil lawsuit, collect your $1 million, or maybe $2 million. The mayor has just confirmed he's the boss. The mayor has just confirmed what this man did is incongruent to the policy. He called it standards. See, the reason why the mayor's statement is so important is because he doesn't talk about just feeling alone. He doesn't talk about sentiment. He says it's incongruent with the standards. Policy violation. Let's go. His statement concluded, quote, Chief Young is aware of the situation, and I have been informed that corrective measures are underway. Our whole community deserves policing that reflects professionalism, restraint, and respect for every person's humanity. As mayor, I assure you, this is not a matter that will simply be swept away. I remain committed to ensuring that this matter is taken seriously and that our community is kept informed as more information becomes available. Okay, all right. I get it. You're doing the political thing. At the end, more information becomes available. That's all the information you need what actually happened. Because the cop only needed the information of what actually happened in order to make the arrest. You only need the information of what actually happened in order to effect the arrest. So you said all the right things. I hope you do the right things. Giving this guy a desk duty assignment is a seemingly bad look, but we will check this story in a week or so to see if there's movement. This is the thoughts here.
Well, let me just say this. Cops are paid to be professional. That's why we do not have vigilante forces. Well, in theory, we don't. And so it is incumbent upon the cop, the police officer, the peace officer to exercise restraint, to be able to take it on the chin when somebody gives an insult and when they're so-called mouthing off. They do not have the authority to make somebody behave a certain way, to have some sort of etiquette. They are there to enforce the law. They are there for public safety. And so as soon as the cop himself poured the liquor out, that's the end of it. But he wasn't satisfied. He charged this man, he escalated the situation, repeatedly escalated it, and it doesn't matter what was said by the person who was being brutalized, because you know what? I've had a situation where I've been manhandled by a cop, and let me tell you something, it is very hard to be restrained. I definitely mouthed off, okay? Let me tell you something, I didn't take it laying down. And so the expectation that people have that the citizens are the ones that should be buttoned up and yes sir, no sir, okay sir, as opposed to the cops being the ones who are supposed to conduct themselves at a higher standard is backwards. So hopefully, like you said, the action is taken to make sure that this person is removed from the force. And hopefully any other police agency looks up this incident and thinks twice about hiring them, because you know they like to hop around to different forces once they're persona non grata on the force they're fired from.
That's right. And one of the rules or the codes that I've seen, if the cop is charged with everything but violation of oath of office, that means the fix is in. because they can overcome those misdemeanor charges and possibly get the felony dismissed. But if they're charged with a violation of oath of office, which basically is the one charge that will disallow you from being post-certified, the fix is in. We know that he misrepresented the report. We know that he acted outside of the range of his profession by the account of the mayor. And we know that it is, in fact, a violation of his oath of office to protect and serve. And you made a great point about what they actually are. They're peace officer. That certification says peace officer. It doesn't say police officer. It says peace officer. All right? Okay. I got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hell no. Hell no. So the brother goes inside of his apartment, and there's a random, I'm in fear for my life. There's a random white woman who decides to press her ear against his door to listen to him settling in at home. All right, I want you to see it again. Here it is. Put it at full mass. Indisputable producers. We have gone over the footage multiple times. We have analyzed still shots. This is our first time seeing a Karen in the wild act in such a way. This may be part of some type of new species of Karen breaking off from the original species. It could be a form of evolution. We do not know. This is the Karen that is silent. This Karen does not talk, it lurks. Reecie, what in the hell is going on, this brother?
I'm still stuck on hell no. No, because what, girl, what did you do? Like, what did you think you were gonna hear through that heavy door? This was a man, he looked like he was coming from maybe working out or something, his work. Why are you all up in this man's business? If you want to get with him, you could just knock, hey, boo, I saw you. If that's what is going on, like, it's just really, really crazy, the audacity. And to think that she wasn't going to be busted. Have you no shame? Everybody has cameras nowadays.
Everybody.
So it's really, I can't conceive of any reason for her to do that other than just she's a Karen. That's it.
Right. If there's some more context, please send it to us. We would love to have. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read some of these comments. Neon Gremlin Dragon says, like Jane and John Doe, in honor of Afro Man's win, should we start using Officer Pound Cake as a placeholder for unidentified officers? It is so. That's a great recommendation. Yes. All right. And RJL Network, member for 44 months. Thank you for that. Says, keep preaching, Doc. We are all behind you 110%. Iron sharpens iron. Greatly appreciate you. And Bubba Franks, the Sword Dragon, says, how the F are repeated blows to the face somehow a valid policing technique? It's not. It goes well beyond, unreasonable force to outright physical assault. Okay. And that's right. Call me Librio says all this over an open container that the guy surrendered. And that's the genesis of this is over something that's not technically a misdemeanor, but an ordinance violation. Okay. It's an ordinance violation. That's why the cop said, pour it out or go to jail. It's not even a misdemeanor. It's not real. Okay. Pour it out, go to jail. Pour it out. He still goes to jail and gets brutally assaulted prior. And yeah, okay. Yeah. Thomas says, it looks like she's casing the place. Attempted BNI might need to send this to management. Uno reverse, neighbor. Look at me. I am the carry now. That would be a hell of a real life Uno reverse. Casing out. What would she think? What would everybody think if he did that to her apartment? Exactly. All right. You made a great point. Okay. Black worker awarded $15 million because, well, the people she works for couldn't stop being racist. Put it up full mass. A federal jury has awarded a black woman who formerly worked in code enforcement for the city of Fresno $15 million in damages after finding the city liable for racial discrimination and also retaliation last week. Her name is Kiki Wilson. Kiki Wilson's legal battle began October 2019 when she and a co-worker, Charles Smith, pictured on the right, filed a complaint against the city and their former supervisor, Howard Lacey. They accuse Howard of calling her the N-word. That's pretty racist. Yes, that checks. Taking adverse employment actions against her. That's retaliation. That's against the rules of engagement for employment. Check. And they filed this each of them filed this, complaining about the harassment. Smith, who was white, was awarded $400,000 by the jury. So this was an interesting case because you have a white employee who's citing and agreeing with the racism, or at least the bigoted and the unfair treatment, as well as retaliatory treatment experienced from the supervisor. There's more. This is how it began. So Wilson's rocky relationship with Laci began soon after he was hired as an inspector in the city's code enforcement division in 2004, according to her complaint originally filed in the local county superior court, and it was obtained by Atlanta Black Star. Atlanta Black Star did great reporting. It was moved to the U.S. District Court in California in 2020. Laci, her supervisor, displayed, quote, obvious disdain for African Americans, end quote, by discussing and acting out racial stereotypes, including during a training for, quote, using urban language, during which he donned a paper bag with a bottle in it and told people that he was from West Fresno, which had a significant black population. The lawsuit said he was pretending like it was a beer bottle or something, right? Like a 40 ounce, and playing a character. Wilson claimed she heard Laci say that code inspectors need to complete any inspections in West Fresno in the morning because, quote, they will all be asleep, end quote, and the employees wouldn't be at risk. Wilson also claimed that a picture of Barack Obama at her desk was desecrated with monkey ears early on in her employment. GV Wire reported this. So in one interaction, Laci then allegedly told Smith to stay away from Wilson because she's a no-good piece of ish, and that the only reason she got her job back was because she, quote, played the race card. Smith should, quote, avoid her like the plague, Laci allegedly said. If Smith wanted, quote, any chance of being hired full time, end quote, Smith did as Laci told him. He said and avoided Wilson, whom he did not know. He didn't know her, okay? He was hired as a full-time probationary employee in April 2018. So you have the boss saying, all right, if you want to get this full-time situation done, you want to make it 90 days probationary period, you got to stay away from the black woman because she is only at her job because, she played the race card. And so now he's manipulating and utilizing intimidation and threatens retaliation. Because if you base employment predicated on if somebody avoids the black person, that is already, against the rules of engagement, yes. Okay, so in May, this was interesting, this 2018 in May, Smith and Wilson were among city employees who attended a 5-day statewide training for code enforcement officials. Typically, they do these trainings in order to get their continuing education. 4 days in, Laci called Smith late one night and accused him of meeting privately with Wilson and told him he, quote, had eyes and ears everywhere and knew that Smith had been exchanging nods with Wilson during the training. Smith said that wasn't true, but Laci again told him, stay away from Wilson if he wanted to pass probation and continue his employment. Once again, sir, completely against the law. June 2018, after Smith and Laci inspected an African-American woman's property and got back into the vehicle, Laci allegedly said, see, Charlie, I'm not a racist. Kiki wants to say that I'm a racist, but I'm not. I'm super nice. It's her. Then he added, Kiki is an entitled N-word. I'm not saying N-word with an E-R. I'm saying N-word, N-I-G-G. Smith responded, Howard, can this be over? Just stop it already. I don't want to hear this crap. I get it. You hate Kiki, but I'm not here for your issue with Kiki, according to the complaint. Looks like his 90 days were over, so he was full-time employed at this point, we'll assume. So he tells the boss, the supervisor, stop it, cut it out. I'm not here for that. There's more. So later, June 2018, Smith learned that Laci had been sending out letters regarding inspections to residents under Smith's name for inspections Smith had not conducted and asked him to stop, as it could be considered fraud. Laci allegedly told him not to worry about it. Soon after, Laci stopped speaking with Smith and replying to his emails and texts. He's being petty. The following month, Smith was transferred to the tire team, a less desirable job completely outside of his skill set. The lawsuit said Smith complained about the transfer to Tim Burns, Laci's supervisor, telling him he considered the move retaliation by Laci. Smith resigned July 10th, 2018. He called Wilson the next day and gave her an earful about the racist comments Laci had previously made about her, including that he called her an entitled N-word. Wilson, who was at work, headed to the Human Resources Department to file a complaint. She was at work when she got the call. On her way there, she saw a coworker and raised her voice and said, "They're all effing liars, all of them." One of them reported to Andrew Cuevas, the city's personnel manager in code enforcement, that Wilson had directed the profanity at him. Andrew interviewed Wilson and learned that Wilson had made the outburst shortly after learning that she had been called a racial slur by Laci. But he decided that the context did not excuse her violation or her violation of the city's professional code of conduct policy, and issued her a letter of reprimand August 2019. Okay, now this is interesting because obviously racism doesn't get a reprimand, but her making a proclamation of an emotional proclamation does. So during the 10-day trial, when asked about her use of profanity in that moment by Mandy Jeffcoach, lead attorney for the city, Wilson said, quote, "I was pissed. Do you understand? You wouldn't. Being a Black woman, knowing what I knew, all of those things, I didn't think of any rules at the time." Later in August 2018, the city hired attorney Dallas Selling to investigate Wilson's complaint concerning Laci's conduct. During her interview with Laci, federal judge Kirk E. Sheriff observed that she failed to ask Laci whether he had used a racial slur to describe Wilson. Instead, she questioned Laci about his conversation with Smith without mentioning the racial slur, assuming Laci would correct her if he used the slur. Her investigation determined that there was insufficient fact to sustain Wilson's allegations against Laci. Selling, who also asked by the city in 2018 to simultaneously investigate Wilson's behavior, she found that Wilson was known to be, quote, aggressive, hostile, and disruptive. There we go. Oh, angry Black woman. Code for angry Black woman, okay? Once again, they're not dealing with the fact that her boss was racist. There's more. And recommended in 2019 that Wilson be fired. After some interface by her union representative and some legal wrangling over the next year, Wilson was given a 30-day suspension, September 2020, by the City Civil Service Board, all because she had one emotional proclamation after learning her boss was calling her the N-word. In the meantime, both Wilson and Smith decided, you know what, we're going to get on this together. So they filed an administrative complaint and multiple administrative complaints with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing and received their right to sue letter. Okay, they reviewed the case to see, do you have a right? Is there a proclamation you can make here based on the standard of law? Yes, you actually have a claim. So in their federal lawsuits, they accuse the city and Laci of racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation in violation of state and federal law. The lawsuit said Wilson had endured 15 years of racism waged against her by the city, which had denied every one of her applications for promotion. All of them were denied, consistently telling her that she was, quote, not the right fit, while hiring other people with less education and less experience. Wilson was eventually terminated by the city in 2022, although those reasons were not disclosed or made part of the trial because they would have biased the jury. After deliberating for more than a day, on March 11th, the 8-person jury found the city of Fresno liable, guilty, for failing to prevent racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation against Wilson, and for her relationship against Smith by transferring him to the tire team. So Eva Smith got some money. They're exposed, and they made me seem like I was an angry black woman, stereotype, end quote. Wilson said after the verdict, quote, "I'm so glad that the jury saw past that." Amen, sister. And I gotta highlight, I gotta highlight the colleague, the white male, who did the right thing, who heard enough, and who also decided to go on record with her to provide additional testimony as to the malfeasance of the supervisor. That's called an ally and a friend, all right? Okay, just the thoughts here.
Well, attorney selling is a perfect example of what I call white solidarity gaslighting. And that is when, in solidarity with racism, you make the entire case about the reaction to racism. And so rather than doing a thorough investigation that held the actual offending party liable for his actions, who, by the way, according to reports, is still working for the city, it turns the black woman into the boogie woman for an outburst that I think anybody would excuse. I've heard more forceful language over football results or other things at work. So come on. But racism is expensive, but it is a price that white supremacists are consistently willing to pay. 15 years of abuse, documented incidents, documented discrimination. At any point, the city, if they were worried about the fiduciary responsibility to its tax-paying citizens, could have done something about this. At minimum, incompetent leadership from Lacey. At minimum, that's what it was. It was incompetent and inappropriate. At maximum is what Ms. Wilson was alleging. And they did nothing. And they're still doing nothing. And we can expand this to the entire country. Racism costs this country, or has cost, according to Citigroup, $16 trillion over the past 20 years. This entire country would be better off with less racism. But yet, as a policy, we still, or I should say this society and our lawmakers, and Trump is a prime example of it, still choose racism every single time over the advancement and over progress for everybody. And so this is really, really disgusting that she had to endure this. I don't think that the amount of abuse that she had to deal with in terms of, and the psychological toll, the lost income that she had to deal with you can put a price tag on that, but good for her, because you know what? Black people being litigious is my jam. I love to see it. Absolutely. Document and sue every single time. Worst case scenario, you've just documented it. Best case scenario, you get a check.
That's right. And she's getting a government check for 15. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read some of these beautiful comments. Greatly appreciate everyone. Narc Burgess says, get the bag. That's right. I think this is Deendrick 3450. They know where they are likely to get away with this type of nonsense. It's all disgusting. That's right. Snack Panther says, I never played a race card. I just rolled out the big joker. That's right. Yep. So Bubba Franks, the Sword Dragon, says, punishing the wrong people, punishing the innocent taxpayers for the crime of another. And if they would have simply had a zero tolerance policy on racism, you don't get to this point. Okay. All right. An innocent black man finally exonerated, 19 years in prison, over a few dollars, by the way. Put it up full mass. We have a hell of a story. A man who spent nearly 2 decades in prison for roughly $550 damn dollars. Almost 20 years in prison for $550. According to the allegation, it was a robbery, okay? This man has now been exonerated and freed after prosecutors say they now agree with him. He never committed a crime. You're looking at 61-year-old Kenneth Winley. Mr. Winley has maintained his innocence for 20 years. Quote, it cost me 20 years, but they said they corrected it now. So that's all. So that's all that matters. So I'm good with that. Kenneth Winley said as he left the Brooklyn courthouse at Liberty for the first time since 2007. A judge threw out his conviction and dismissed his case entirely at the request of both prosecutors and his own lawyers. Prosecutors said new evidence, including confessions from 2 other men who were convicted of similar robberies, supported his long-standing claim of innocence. Put him back up. I want you to imagine having your freedom taken away for 20 years for $550 And for each day of each year, you maintain, I never stole those $550. Filing appeals, writing letters, exhausting opportunities to go back to court is what he experienced. Wiley was arrested in 2005 after buying a stove for his mother with a money order that turned out to be stolen. It had been snatched from Gerald Ross, 70, by two thieves who followed him home from a trip to a bank and a post office. The thieves put Ross in a chokehold and took money orders, cash, and a bank book from him, prosecutors said in a report released on Monday. Ross would regularly get money orders for his rent and life insurance payments at that post office, which helped him and authorities follow a paper trail after the robbery. Trail soon led to Mr. Wiley, who had given his name, driver's license, and address when purchasing the stove at an appliance store. Okay? From the start, Wiley said he had nothing to do with the robbery. He said he has simply bought a $542.77 money order at a discount from a couple of acquaintances who insisted that it was valid, but they could not use it for a bureaucratic reason. Quote, he was duped. One of Wiley's lawyers, David Shanice, told the court on Monday he was duped. Ross identified Wiley in the lineup as one of the thieves, and the jury convicted him in 2007 of robbery. Because of prior felony convictions, he was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison for a nearly $550 money order. His appeals all failed. Early on, Wiley told prosecutors that he knew about the men who sold him the money order, their nicknames, and some information about their legal names. After his conviction, a friend and private investigators helped him flesh out the men's identities and persuade the men to come forward about what had happened. That's according to the DA's report. Both are serving prison time on other robbery convictions. That's according to the DA's office. Those convictions all involve male victims in their 60s and older who were followed home from banks and check cashing offices in Brooklyn in 2005 and 2006. They had an MO. If the jury had known those men's identities and robbery records, the information would likely have raised reasonable doubt about the charge against Wiley, prosecutors concluded. And I want to say this about the case. He was identified in the lineup. You don't want to miss that part. How was he identified in the lineup if he never did the crime? Usually that's because you have Mr. Wiley, who's an actual suspect, and then they bring in individuals that are supposed to have similar likeness to that suspect, right? And a person who's a victim has to point out, well, that's the person that robbed me. So just by happenstance, they pick the person that the cops pick by happenstance. Or did the cops say, this is the person? And we've seen that play out many times in these types of cases. Brooklyn DA, I'll put him up. So you got the Brooklyn DA. We'll keep him up for a minute. Wiley, heading off Monday afternoon to celebrate with his family, said he wasn't bitter about what he had been through. This was a good man. Quote, I'm just going to move on from there, he said, which is honestly the absolute best thing he can do. It'll eat him alive if he thinks about everything they took. Okay? He has opportunity to live. He's going to do that. Brooklyn DA, you have Eric Gonzalez. He said, quote, this case is really a cautionary tale of how things can seem one way, but without careful analysis, not be what it purports to be. Had we known what the evidence was, this case should have never happened, end quote. He said, adding that he had apologized privately to Wiley. I'm very thankful to the DA for getting this right. I'm encouraging everyone who's watching this segment. If you are an active person, make sure your county DA or your state's attorney, make sure that they have a committee dedicated to looking at cases like this. We started one in Fulton County a few years ago. It has been revolutionary. We've been able to not only exonerate individuals by review, but we've been able to reunite them with their families. These are cases that have been closed, resolved according to the prosecutors of old, and their legal remedies, their appeal process has expired. It's gone. They have exhausted them. And we are able to make wrong right as much as possible. So utilize this as a catalyst to make sure that's being done in your local area. Just the thoughts here.
Well, I had the honor of hosting exonerees as part of me and my dear friend Clay Kane. We did live tour called Beyond the Mic. And something that stands out is that even though they're obviously grateful to have been exonerated, there's still a pain and trauma that they carry with them, even as they move forward in their life. And so you cannot overstate the impact of how just devastating it is to be in jail for a crime you did not commit. It is so important that prosecutors are willing to admit that mistakes were made. It is so important that people who maintain their innocence are heard out. It's so important that people are in a rush to get justice for themselves do not make false identifications. It's so important that every aspect of a case is investigated. And the last thing I'll say is it's important that we stop locking people up for crimes that do not fit the time.
Right.
20 years for $550, as if a person would steal a money order and then turn around and use that money order and give their driver's license and all their information on how to find them. The other people that stole the money order, they gave aliases to the guy that they sold it to. So it never made sense to begin with. And so if you're serving on a jury, I've served on a jury before, make sure that you make prosecutors adhere to beyond a reasonable doubt. Everybody has a role to play in this criminal system. I don't even want to call it justice because it's rarely justice for us, but everybody has a role to play. And I appreciate what you said, Dr. Reecie, about getting involved locally and making sure that these cases get adjudicated by people who are looking to make sure that innocent people do not stay locked up behind bars.
That's right. That's right. Well said. All right. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. I have time to read just a couple of comments. I'm very thankful for everyone. Iowa Gal says that man was exceptionally generous and what a loving man. That's right. That's what struck me. Man, 20 years. Tyler Hagner 9731. So much life he didn't get to live. Yeah. And Fascist Killer, now they need to give this man 50 million. Damn right. All right. Well, we said it was bound to happen. The Bachelorette season canceled because the star has a history of violence and the video has surfaced. Here it is.
Yeah, look at you. Look. Yeah, look. This is called physical abuse. Yeah. Yeah. See, Taylor, this is all you do. It's the only thing you know how to do.
Have your slippers, okay?
Holy
It's okay. I don't give a
Let me go. Stop. Dude, leave me alone. Oh my God. Your daughter is right here. Oh my gosh. Oh my. You are.
Very sad, very unfortunate. Put up the picture for a mask. Okay? So that is how typically she's known by most. This is another shot. Let's put that up for a mask. All right. ABC on Thursday announced it would not be airing the latest season of The Bachelorette after TMZ published a video that shows the video of the show's star, Taylor Frankie Paul, attacking her partner, Dakota. Paul, who is also the star of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, a reality show that follows the lives of Mormon influencers that were revealed to be swingers. Days earlier, Variety also reported that the upcoming season of Mormon Wives had paused filming after, well, the video. Paul's legal troubles date back to 2023 when she was arrested for a separate domestic dispute with the same individual, which was part of the storyline in season 1 of Mormon Wives. Now, keep in mind, it was part of the storyline, all right? It was a catalyst for the conflict. She was charged with assault, criminal mischief, and domestic violence in the presence of a child. Now, that's the part that can become an aggravator, meaning it can become an enhancer because you have done this in front of a minor. There's more. Court records show she later did, in fact, plead guilty in abeyance to aggravated assault 2025, while other charges were dismissed for that plea agreement. Taylor Frankie Paul was already raising red flags with her Secret Lives of Mormon Wives co-stars weeks before she was axed as the next Bachelorette. So during a Zoom meeting, March 7th, cast members from the hit Hulu show sounded the alarm, warning ABC executives they had serious concerns about continuing the show if Paul stayed involved. NBC News reported on Thursday the tense call involving the Mormon Wives cast came shortly after a February 2026 incident involving Paul and her ex, now part of an open domestic assault investigation in Utah. 3 Disney execs were on the call, including Rob Mills, the studio's executive vice president of unscripted and alternative entertainment, according to audio of the meeting obtained by the outlet. Is it not ironic? Is it not ironic that the same thing that got her into Hollywood kicks her out of Hollywood? However that looks, right? So there's this thing where they want the conflict. They just don't want to be blamed for it. They want you to be able to own it so that there's this conflict. But the conflict is quite dangerous. That's not a laughing matter. I don't think this would be a laughing matter if any person male or female, is committing this kind of abuse and then doing so in front of a child. But once again, they are on their holy soapbox. It's interesting. All right. Reecie, isn't that something? The same thing that was the catalyst that got her on is the thing now that obviously they're like, oh my goodness, we didn't know it was all that.
Right. Well, and the promo around the show is about how edgy she is and how she isn't like the typical bachelorette. And it's like, just kidding. We didn't want to get involved with all that. They knew about these charges. Obviously, they would have vetted her, but they didn't know about the tapes. I will say though, I have people very dear to me who have been victims of domestic violence and they fought back. And so I won't pass judgment entirely on what we saw. She alleges that she was abused as well. But I will say in terms of what ABC did is they took her notoriety, they tried to parlay it, her social media fame, they tried to parlay it into a more viral hit for The Bachelorette, and it backfired for them.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Always a pleasure having your brilliance on the program. Tell people how they can follow you and continue checking out your great work.
Thank you for having me once again. Everybody can follow me, Reecie Colbert, on all socials, including YouTube. You can catch me on Clay Kane Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, on SiriusXM Urban View, Roland Martin Unfiltered on Thursdays, and the Reecie Colbert Show on SiriusXM Urban View Saturdays, 2 to 4 p.m. Thank you.
Dear sister, we appreciate your leadership and all you do. All right, remember, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.